contamination has had a ripple effect across the country, including right here in our area. Eyewitness News reporter Tristan Sanders joins us now with her special report, Something in the Water. Tristan?
Movies have probed into cases of cover-up involving contaminated water. It's a topic that makes for dramatic dialogue on the big screen. If you asked one former Marine about his connection to polluted water, he'd tell you the name of his movie would be The Few, the Proud, the Forgotten. It was April 2007 when 39-year-old Tallahassee resident Mike Partain hugged his wife, Margaret. It's a hug that saved his life. She felt a lump in his chest. It was cancer.
It was just out of the blue. I had no idea that, first a man could get breast cancer, and second that, where did it come from? Cancer's pretty rare in my family.
Male breast cancer accounts for less than 1% of all breast cancer cases. It is extremely rare and often linked to genetics. But in Mike's case, it was a phone call from his father that pinpointed the cause of cancer for him.
Go home and turn on the TV now. And when he said that, it just made me shiver. I stood right there and looked at the TV, and they were talking about Camp Lejeune, where I was born, and that the water was contaminated.
Mike's mother was pregnant with him when they were stationed at Camp Lejeune, a Marine Corps base in North Carolina. She drank the base's water the entire time she was pregnant with him. That televised report would change Mike's life forever.
My blood ran cold because I knew where the cancer had come from, and I knew that some of the other things that have happened in my life. I was born with a skin rash that covered my whole upper body, and I knew that's where that came from too, because these are things nowhere in my family.
From sometime in the 1950s until 1987, residents at Camp Lejeune drank the contaminated water. It's still unknown exactly how many people were affected. Mike now devotes every moment he can spare to researching the Camp Lejeune water issue. But he's been disappointed by how the government is handling this.
It amazes me just how a story that is so evident when you read it can be twisted and turned and presented to the public in a manner that is confusing, that is misleading, and ultimately is hurting people.
And the Agency for Toxic Substances and Disease Registry senior epidemiologist in the Division of Health Studies is conducting a research on birth defects and childhood cancers at Camp Lejeune. He estimates as many as 600 to 800,000 people were exposed to the contaminated water.
Quite a story, Tristan. What does the Marine Corps have to say about this contamination?
Frankly, not much. I tried to contact the agency. I've not heard back from anyone. I even submitted a list of questions and never received a reply. On the Camp Lejeune website, the Marines say they are committed to reaching all former residents who may have been exposed. But coming up tomorrow, I'm going to tell you how Congressman Alan Boyd says the Department of Defense has been anything but forthcoming.
All right, we'll look forward to that report. Tristan Sanders reports. Sanders has more in her special report, Something in the Water. Tristan?
Thank you, Frank. 1 year ago today, a 39-year-old Tallahassee resident was diagnosed with male breast cancer. It was discovered by his wife as she hugged him. Now, Mike Partain is on the hunt for the truth, and he is joined by a very powerful ally.
We think it's time that the Navy open up and tell us what they knew, when they knew it, and be cooperative in this effort to try to find out what happened, and then we'll have a little better handle on it.
Congressman Alan Boyd is the latest player in the investigation of water contamination at Camp Lejeune from sometime in the 1950s to 1987. 1 year ago, Tallahassee resident Mike Partain was diagnosed with breast cancer. He was in his mother's womb while she was exposed to the toxic tap water at the North Carolina base. Who would have thought that the water his mother drank 40 years ago while she was pregnant with him could be the cause of his cancer today? That's a question that drives Mike to find the answer and fuels his anger.
And every time I come across a family, the stories are heartbreaking. Some of them are dying out there. I mean, if Margaret had not given me that hug this time last year, I'd be a dead man right now. And to know that our government knew that I was exposed, there's just no excuse for that. And there are people out there who are dying and have died that shouldn't be. And that's a crime.
Mike's wife, Margaret, shares his anger.
When you take a drink of water, no matter where you live, what city, what naval base, wherever you live, you should know that the water you're drinking is safe.
Mike says he's learned that 9 local families have been impacted by the toxic water, all with a family member who was diagnosed with or died from cancer.
I want to see the Marine Corps notify the people. Anyone that was on that base drinking that water, they need to be notified. And they need to be notified in a manner that is factual and forthright.
It's not enough just to say that I support the troops. That's not just a saying. That means that, by golly, we have to provide the resources, the funds to give them what they need to accomplish their mission. And if something bad has happened to their families or to them, we need to fully disclose what we know to make sure that these folks can get the help that they need. So I'm a little disappointed in the way the Department of Defense has handled this, and we're going to continue to push to see that they do right.
And since our first report last night, I've already received a number of emails from people who have ties to Camp Lejeune. If you think you're one of them, please go to our website, WCTV.tv, and click on Something in the Water. Frank?
Well, Tristan, you've been talking to Mike Partain and about the male breast cancer. How's he doing?
He completed his chemo last November, and he's doing much better. And today is actually the 1-year anniversary of his diagnosis. Mike just returned from a meeting in Atlanta where the Marines released one of the reports that Congressman Boyd has been wanting available to the public. There are still lots of questions surrounding this, but finally, answers are starting to surface.
A compelling report. Thanks, Tristan Sanders, for that.